Happy Sunday. I am so glad you are tuning into the FC Clubhouse Online, whether you're watching us first thing in the morning or you're going to tune in later at a later time. I'm glad you're here. We are continuing our series, The Summer Road Trip, and I'm excited with what we're talking about today. But before we get there, we're going to do our question of the week. And this week, I want to know, if you could have lunch with any Disney character, who would you pick? And so we're going to put that on the screen. Love for you guys to type that into the comments, but let's spend a few moments answering. If you could have lunch with any Disney character, who would you pick? So before we get ready for our lesson and catching up with our friends Chris and David, we are going to get ready for worship. And so I want to encourage you guys to sing and dance with me as we give praise to God.
Your praise forever.
awesome time of worship what that was. Before we jump into our lesson, like I said, we're going to tune in to Chris and David, and so let's catch up with them and see what they're talking about this morning.
Yoo-hoo, David!
He's not here.
Yes, he is.
Oh, why'd you keep bothering me? Why?
Because I love sharing my vacation photos with you.
I've seen all your vacation pictures.
No, you haven't.
I've seen the restaurant, the canteen, the campground, the drive-thru, the Grand Canyon, the giant skillet.
Well, have you seen her?
Who's that?
Wait, you don't recognize her?
No.
Of course you don't. That's my grandma.
How am I supposed to know who that is?
Because my grandpa and grandma are amazing. Look, here's my grandma making her famous chicken and dumplings. And here she is making vegetable soup. And here she is making fresh blueberry pancakes.
Oh, wow. That does look amazing.
And here's our grandma showing us some old photos. And then here's Grandpa showing us his old army uniform. And here I am trying to wear it.
It looks a little big on you.
Oh, it was a lot big on me. But the stories he told me were amazing.
I bet. My grandpa has some great stories too.
Man, I love seeing my grandparents. It's better than the roller coasters or the beach. They always have great stories and things to teach me.
I hear that. My grandpa is always teaching me important lessons from when he was a kid. He tells me I learn from him telling me than from me to repeat the same mistakes he made.
And I'm so lucky to have my grandparents and my parents and my soccer coach and even my weird Uncle Louie to teach me the things like that. I'm really thankful to have them.
For once, Chris, I definitely agree. It's really awesome having older mentors who can teach us about life.
You know what? Let's go thank God for bringing us all these wise people into our lives.
And after that, let's go thank all our relatives and mentors for all the things they do.
That's a great idea. Let's go.
Okay, bye.
What a great time that was with Chris and David. We're going to continue to check in with them. I don't know how many of you guys do go on road trips, but not every time you're able to go to like a really nice hotel, or sometimes not every vacation will lead to the beach or like an amusement park or a really big city. Sometimes our parents, our mom and dads, they'll pack things up and we'll hit the road and we'll travel all over the place, but then we end up at a very, very unique place. A place that they might have been able to call home, called their grandparents' house. And see, usually if your grandparents, your grandma, your grandpa, they live out of town, the odds are, like, you try it maybe once a year, you try to go and visit, you try to go see them, because it's kind of a special place visiting grandma's house or grandpa's house, right? There's a ton of memories. It's the place where you learn that maybe you're not as loud and crazy as people say you are, because you find out your parents were just as wild and crazy as they were when they were your age. And when you go to grandma's house, it's a really cool place to see a lot of old photos. You hear a lot of cool stories that they might have shared. Sometimes you hear sayings like, back in my day, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have video games. Or they might say, well, back in my day, we only had 3 channels on the TV. Grandma's house is also a really cool place to go, sometimes for cooking. Maybe your grandma's really good at cooking, has the best recipes in the world. It could be fried chicken or chocolate chip cookies. The awesome thing about that is when you go to grandma or grandpa's house, sometimes your parents will only say, you can only have 1 or 2 cookies, but your grandparents might spoil a little bit and say, no, you can have 3 or 4 if you're lucky. Also, a really cool thing about going and visiting grandma's house is just how educational it can be. Because like I said, they show photos and they tell stories, and there's a lot of wisdom seeing those photos and hearing those stories. Your grandparents have had a lifetime of interactions with all kinds of people. They've had a lot of problems. They've went through some hard things, experiencing and interacting with every kind of person. And when we go to Grandma's house and we have our ears open, there's so much that we can learn from those people in our lives. And so today we've been talking about Moses and the Israelites, and have been following their story as they've gone from being out of slavery into Egypt and trying to make their way into the Promised Land. We saw that God used Moses to part the Red Sea. We saw him provide food when they were hungry. And today we're going to see that even Moses, he got advice from some elders, right? So what happens is Moses, his father-in-law, he comes and visits him, and they're in the wilderness, and he gave him some really great advice for a struggling leader. So we're going to pick up that story today in Exodus 18. So Jethro, which is Moses' father-in-law, he comes, and Moses tells everything that has happened. So all the things that I mentioned about the food and what happened at the Red Sea. And Jethro, he was so delighted with everything that the Lord has done, all the good things that he's been able to do. And so that's what we're going to pick up in our story today on Exodus 18. And we're going to start at verse 13. And it's going to be on the screen. So I want you guys to join me as we read this. It says, "The next day Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, 'What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge, while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?' Moses answered him, 'Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions.' Moses' father-in-law replied, 'What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions, and show them the way they are to live and how they are to behave. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officers over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied.' Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all Israel and made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judge for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves." See, Moses was working way too hard, right? He was putting a lot of pressure on him, and he was taking this full load of trying to be the leader of Israel. And what it was doing is it was wearing himself down. And so Jethro, when he comes and visits Moses, he sees everything that's happening and what Moses is doing. He offers him some help, right? And he says, "What you need to do, Moses, is find some wise men who are able to do this, and have them take care of all the little problems." And so this way, Moses, he could focus on all the bigger stuff. And it might not seem like not much, but little nuggets of wisdom, just like this in our story, are dropped every day to us. And it's not just what happens when we go and visit our grandparents, but we get them from our teachers, from our coaches, from pastors, from neighbors, and yes, even from our parents. And then when you stop and think about it, God has blessed you with so many people who can offer that advice and offer that wisdom. that can help you through life. And it's truly wise, and if we are truly wise, we will listen to them because God will use them to help us make our path straight and really just help us have a better life. And in this story, could have taken place at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and the advice can vary. Maybe your grandpa tells you that you should choke up on the bat when you swing and you'll have a better at bat. Or maybe your grandma shares a recipe from one of or maybe grandma shares an ingredient from one of her recipes. Or maybe one of them tells you about a terrible decision they made, and just there's an important life lesson you're able to learn from it. Because here's a really cool thing about the story we read today. When Jethro gave Moses this advice, like Moses was kind of older in age. The story tells us that in this time Moses was already at least 80 years old. So he's probably older than some of your grandparents or people you know. But yet, even at his age, he still needed someone and get advice from someone who was even older than him to tell him how to do a better job. Because learning wisdom, it doesn't end when we reach adulthood. Even our parents, when you talk to them, they'll tell you that they depend on the wisdom of their parents and people around them who are a little bit older, their grandparents. Because we're always going to need advice. We're always going to need some wisdom. And so I just want to take some time and just being able to thank God for sending those people in our lives who help and being able to pour in that wisdom into us. Because honestly, I don't know how many of you guys, your first thought is, I want to go on a vacation to your grandparents' house. Especially when you're a kid, right? There's so many other things that sound so appealing, right? Going to Disney or the beach, going to an amusement parks, big cities. But there is so much wisdom that we can gain from spending time with the elders that will stay with us a whole lot longer than going somewhere and getting a t-shirt as a souvenir or whatever it may be. Because parents and grandparents and other adult mentors, they're a true gift from God. And so the wisdom they have to share with us can really help us in our life. Like I said, help keep us have that straighter path. And so whether you're going to visit your grandparents or not this summer, I just want to challenge you guys to take some time and just listen to one of those adults or mentors speak into your life. Learn from their wisdom, learn from what they have to share, just like Moses did, because we're never going to stop learning. There's just this endless source of wisdom around us. And so as we look to close our time together, we're just going to close with a time of prayer. And so I'd love for you guys to join me in that. Hey God, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for this story with Jethro and Moses. And just the important lesson that we can learn from that. Regardless where we're at in our life, God, there are people who will pour into our lives if we just take the time and listen to the advice they have to offer. Thank you so much for the wise teachers you've given us, whether that is our grandparents or that's our teachers or our parents or our neighbors, whoever it is, God. Thank you for just their wisdom and just for their willingness to just pour into us. Be with us throughout our week. You are so good to us, God, and it's in your name I pray. Amen. So we're going to get ready before we go, like always, to do our Bible verse. And so what we're going to do this morning is I'm going to put it on the screen, and we're going to say every other word. So I'll start, and then you guys will say the next word. I will say the following word, and we'll go through that until we finish it. So I want you guys to join me in that. So into, hands, commit, very, Lord, me, you, my, God. Psalms 5. Awesome. So we're going to actually just read it one more time together as a group and just say it all together. So it's going to be on the screen one more time. So we're just going to say it together as a group one more time. Into your hands I commit my very life. Lord, set me free. You are my faithful God. Psalms 31:5. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I continue praying for you guys like always, and just know I miss you all so much. And I hope you have a fantastic week, and I can't wait for you to tune in next week.